In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your front strut mount on your Toyota Camry. It's located behind your front wheel. To remove the hubcaps, you're going to stick a pry bar of some sort in there, and you're just going to go around and prop it off. Using a 21mm socket, we're going to remove our lug nuts. Doesn't look like it's going to come off, so I'm going to put one lug nut on loosely and get my dead blow hammer. And you want to give it a whack around here. Don't hit the valve stem. Walk that back, take off your lug nut, remove your wheel. We're going to remove our top part of our sway bar link that's attached to the strut. To do that, you're going to use an 18mm wrench on the back side of the sway bar link to hold the stud still, and an 18mm for the nut. Using a pry bar, just push this out the rest of the way and move it to the side. We're not going to be taking off the axle nut for this job. That being said, I don't want the axle coming out of the transmission. So I have a ratchet strap ready to put around the rotor and knuckle to hold this axle in when we take the strut out. So just get one ready. I have mine looped over here in front of the lower control arm and by this bushing over here. Using a 12mm socket, we're going to take out this bolt that's holding the brake hose and the ABS. Now you can remove that and set it aside. I'm just going to put my bolt back in. And now we're going to unclip this from the strut. Just pull back on these two tabs and let that be free. I'm just going to support mine in my knuckle area away from the strut. I'm going to use a 22mm socket for these two nuts and a 22mm wrench on the other side to hold the head of the bolt. I'm going to just remove the nuts for now. Now I'm going to put my ratchet strap on, as discussed before, to support the axle. Now we're going to remove our bolts. I have my ratchet strap keeping my axle in the transmission, and I have a jack underneath supporting the lower ball joint control arm. That way for install it's a lot easier. So now I'm going to tap these out. I'm going to use a punch on the other end. You can just put a punch in here for now, and we're going to remove the nuts on the top. Now we're going to remove these 3 nuts using a 15mm socket. You are going to see the strut go down a little bit. Now we're going to go below and take out our punch and the strut. So now we're below in the wheel well again. I'm going to take our strut out. To do that, I'm going to take this punch out. Might have to tap it out. You may have to release your ratchet strap a little bit. Once you get it out a little bit, you're going to push this out a little bit. Remove the strut. Now we have our strut set up on our spring compressor. I've marked on my spring all the way down to the center of this point. You can mark it however you'd like, as long as you remember how the mount goes on the strut itself. Now we're going to compress. Using a 22mm socket, I'm going to take off this nut. I'm going to try to do it real quick, and hopefully this center stud doesn't spin. It's a good idea to put a pair of locking pliers here so the strut doesn't fall on the ground. Now I'm going to try to get this nut off the rest of the way. I'm going to hold it still. Looks like it's only on one more thread. I have a pair of locking pliers on the shock, and I'm just going to take this nut off the rest of the way. You may have to tighten it a few times. Just pick up the boot. If you don't have one of these tools, you can use a regular socket as well. You're just not going to be able to see if it's spinning. Now we're going to take our mount off. Take our nut. We're going to notice where this ring goes. The rubber side is down, is coming out, should I say. And make sure they're same. Leave your locking pliers there. That'll help keep everything where it needs to be. And you're just going to tilt your lower part down to move your shock up and start lining everything up. So I made a mark on my new mount to line up with my other, where my other one was. That makes life a little easier. You also want to make sure that underneath this area lines up with this. So I'm just going to do this. And then I'm going to pull down on my locking pliers and make sure that fits in like so. You got that. Then you're going to put this down. And then the mount has 2 flat spots in the center. And you want to line those up with the flat spots on the shock. You get everything lined up, you're going to start your nut. Make sure it's still lined up. Looks good. And now we're going to tighten this nut down. Now we're going to snug this up, and then we'll be torquing it. You're going to tighten down your nut. We're going to put the spring back, and then we're going to be torquing it. Before you let your spring go back where it goes, make sure it's all lined up where it belongs. And everything looks good on top. And now we're going to let the spring out. Once I feel some tension back on the strut, I'm going to release my locking pliers. And release the spring the rest of the way. Now we're going to torque this nut to 36 foot-pounds. I am going to hold my center stud with a 10mm wrench. All right, that's torqued, and now we're going to put it back in the car. This part facing you, and it's parallel with this. So you want this facing you and this facing you. This one in the back goes towards the engine. So let's feed it up and through and try to get it lined up back there. Make sure that your ABS wire is out of the way. Mine keeps wanting to line up, but we don't want it to line up yet. If you can get one stud in, that'd be good. Okay, I got it in the holes. Just gonna jam a piece of wood underneath so I can catch a nut on the top. Once you get your studs up through, it's a good idea to get one nut started. So that it holds it in place. Now I'm gonna get the rest of my nuts started on the top. Once those are started, you can start putting the knuckle into the strut. All right, so now you're just gonna get your knuckle in to that strut. You can use a punch once you're a little bit lined up and line it up the rest of the way. I'm going to lower this jack down. And that looks like it's lining up nicely. And now I'm going to get my bolt started through. I may have to wiggle things back and forth. Once you get that bottom one, it'll be a little easier. You can get your nut started. Once you get your lower nuts and bolt started, you can take out your punch and get your top one started too. Again, you might have to wiggle a little bit back and forth to get it in there and get that nut started as well. And at this point, I'm just going to put everything all back and not tighten anything until the very end. Put your ABS bracket on first, and then feed your hose up through. And line all those up and get your bolt started. Now I'm going to get my sway bar link in. Put your put your sway bar link in. Get the nut started. We're snugging up our nuts on the top. Now we're going to torque those to 59 foot-pounds. Now we're going to tighten everything else up on the bottom. I'm going to release my ratchet strap at this point. We don't need it anymore. After you take your ratchet strap out, we're going to start tightening up everything else. I'm going to start with these two bolts here. So you're going to use a wrench on the head side while you tighten this down. And then we're going to be torquing it to 155 foot-pounds. So snug it up first and then torque it. Make sure the head doesn't spin. I'll move this up just in case. If this isn't already in place, put it in place. Mine just kind of naturally went there. And now we're going to tighten down this bolt. And we're going to tighten down our sway bar link on the top. Now we're going to snug up our sway bar link. Now we're going to torque that to 55 foot-pounds. Now we can remove our torque wrench and wrench. Remove your jack, or whatever you were using to support it. Put your wheel on. Start your lug nuts. Put the tapered side in. We're going to tighten our lug nuts in a star-like pattern. Turn your wheel so one lug nut is on the bottom, and you're going to walk the rim up. Using a 21mm socket, we're going to torque our lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds. Put your hubcap back on. Make sure you line your hubcap up with your valve stem. Once you get it going, you're going to give it a little tap. Now you're going to want to take your vehicle down to your local alignment shop to get it aligned.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.